The launch of the Xbox Series X and S consoles, as well as the rise of Game Pass, has put the Xbox division on a path they've never been on before, one of making history and breaking records. Let's talk about it, shall we? What is going on, everybody? It's Randall Thor19, the man with the million, back again with another video. I hope everyone's having a great day, and if you guys can do me a huge favor, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and please hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Thank you guys for all the continued support. It means the world to me. We're definitely gonna have to talk about Xbox and how they're breaking records and making history. And you gotta love it, not necessarily because Microsoft is making all this money. They're a corporation, they're making money hand over fist, right? That isn't what I'm really concerned about. It's what Xbox is doing and the money that they're bringing in, because they're going to reinvest everything, which translates to more games, Microsoft potentially buying even more studios. And since they're funneling money into services to make them better, something like Xbox Game Pass is set to explode, which will need content, which goes back to the more games and more studios. And selfishly, I admit, one of the other reasons I do make videos like this is to show the trolls and the haters that Xbox is doing perfectly fine. They may not be making as much money as PlayStation right now, but they're on the right path, and the right path means great things for us gamers. And the thing that they fear the most is going to happen. Microsoft is going to be a force in the video game industry for years to come. They're going to be buying more studios and potential publishers down the road to feed the beast that is Xbox Game Pass, and those guys hate hearing that. So Microsoft filed their financial reports for October through December yesterday, and the company as a whole banked $15 billion in profit. Not $15 billion in revenue, $15 billion in pure profit. And I just gotta have a laugh when you go back and think to some of the pundits and fanboys that said, you know what? $7.5 billion for Bethesda is a lot of money. They're going to have to put those games on PlayStation or on Nintendo Switch to make their money back. And here you have Microsoft earning $15.5 billion in 3 months, essentially banking what is 2 Bethesda acquisitions in 3 months. You really think that Xbox has to put those Bethesda games on PlayStation to make money? You might want to rethink those statements. So anyways, here's some of the highlights from Microsoft's Q2 fiscal year 2021, October through December 2020. Xbox gaming revenue was up 51% year over year and crossed $5 billion. And we're going to be talking more about that number in a little bit. Xbox content and services were up 40% year over year, driven by first-party and third-party game sales and Game Pass subs. Xbox hardware was up 86% year over year, driven by Xbox Series X and S launch. And as we know, Xbox hardware has been trending down recently because not a lot of people have been buying the Xbox One X and the One S. A lot of that hardware was discontinued and then sold out really quickly when the pandemic hit. So while we were expecting Xbox hardware to be up significantly, Microsoft expected it to only be up 40%, and in reality, it was up 86%. Analyst Z Huge wanted to point out a couple quick things. One, that Xbox content and services revenue this quarter was higher than the total Xbox gaming revenue in the same quarter last year. So what he is saying is that just the Xbox content and services, so third-party game sales, DLC, first-party sales, and Game Pass subscriptions, all that stuff, made more revenue this quarter than the entirety of the Xbox division same quarter last year, which includes Xbox hardware and all that stuff, which is ridiculous when you think about it. And that Xbox hardware almost doubled and now accounts for 31% of Xbox's total gaming revenue, and content and services growth skyrocketed. Xbox Live has more than 100 million monthly active users, while Game Pass now has more than 18 million subscribers. And Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, said this about it: "I'm energized by our increasing momentum and the expanding opportunity fueled by the structural change brought about by the rapid adoption of digital technology. We are investing to meet these needs in the coming decade." The fact that Satya says he's energized by the increasing momentum really just points to Xbox being on the right path with the gaming subscriptions and the dual console approach, and Microsoft targeting 3 billion gamers, putting xCloud and Game Pass on iOS and Android Windows PCs, as well as smart TVs. And Satya sees the growth there, which is why Phil Spencer and Satya himself have talked about the need to continue to expand their studios, because they know they're going to need more and more content for their current strategy moving forward. Now, when you talk about Xbox Game Pass, it really has had some explosive growth. Here's a chart showcasing from Game Pass's launch in June 2017 to right now, January 2021. As you can see, Microsoft announced that they hit 10 million Game Pass subscribers on April of 2020. And then 5 months later, they announced during the acquisition of Bethesda that they had hit 15 million. So that's 1 million subscribers a month for those 5 months. And then a short 3 months later, January 2021, they announced that they hit 18 million. So it's still on a huge growth, and that is without Halo Infinite releasing at the end of last year. Imagine if Halo Infinite in the campaign was in Game Pass, how many more people would have subscribed? This clearly shows that Game Pass is going to be not only an important part of Xbox ecosystem, but there definitely is a huge market for it, and it's going to be very profitable for Microsoft. So what's the ceiling for Xbox Game Pass? Could it hit something like 30 million when Halo Infinite launches next holiday? I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. If they continually add 1 million subscribers a month for the next 12 months, you would be at 30 million. But right now, we don't know of how many exclusives are launching into Game Pass. The Medium launches tomorrow, but the next big Xbox title, we're not really sure of its launch date. And we're not sure when Bethesda's new titles will be hitting the service, and if Starfield is only going to be available in Xbox Game Pass and Xbox ecosystem. So while it's certainly a possibility they hit 30 million by the end of next year, it's also likely that perhaps they hit 25 million because they just don't have the content in 2021 to push it any higher. But once 2022, 2023, and 2024 comes along, when Microsoft is planning on releasing all the new Bethesda games as well as new titles from Xbox Game Studios like Fable and Avowed and Forza Horizon 4 and Forza Motorsport and Gears 6, etc., Game Pass could skyrocket, eventually hit maybe 50 million by 2024. Who really knows? And then we even got more additional figures last night during a conference call with investors where CEO Satya Nadella said that gaming revenues passed $5 billion for the first time ever last quarter. Let that sink in. They passed $5 billion for the first time ever in a quarter. And I know that really flies in the face with all the trolls and haters out there that think Xbox is doing horribly because it's not making as much money as PlayStation, but they are making history. It's why I titled the video the way it was. The first time ever they passed $5 billion, and this can mean only good things for Xbox and gamers like us. I will say this is certainly quite a turnaround when you compare it to 2014 when they had to fire Don Mattrick, and in 2017 where certain analysts were saying, you know what, Microsoft doesn't expect much from Xbox. In fact, it could go away. And here we are a few years later, Xbox is making history, and Satya Nadella is energized about the momentum the division is showing. Satya added that Microsoft has also benefited from the success of developers using its various services such as cloud technology to power their games. As such, revenue from third-party titles exceeded $2 billion for the first time. So just like with Xbox making history regarding $5 billion in one revenue, which they have never done before, here you have them making $2 billion off of third-party titles alone for the first time ever. But I thought Xbox didn't sell any third-party games because nobody was buying software on Xbox. Everybody was just waiting for titles to come into Game Pass. And once again, the truth proves those people are always wrong. Satya Nadella also confirmed that the release of Xbox Series X and S was, quote, the most successful in our history with the most devices ever sold in a launch month. And Chief Financial Officer Amy Hood added that demand for the new console significantly exceeded supply. Microsoft expects this demand to continue throughout the next quarter, but notes that Xbox Series X and S sales will still be constrained by supply. So like we've been saying since the launch of the Xbox Series X, Microsoft basically sold every single system they could produce, and Satya Nadella confirmed that they've sold more Series X devices than any other Xbox console in history for the launch month, which means more than the Xbox One, more than the 360, and more than the original Xbox, which is somewhat impressive when you consider that, one, Microsoft launched the Series X without any major notable exclusive. Halo Infinite was delayed to the end of the year. And 2, unlike previous generations, all Xbox exclusives can be played on the PC and eventually on mobile. So a lot of the critics of Xbox Series X and S say you don't need the console to enjoy Xbox games because you can play it on the Xbox One and the PC, and that is true. And despite that, they still sold more of the new consoles than any other console in Xbox history. And I know there's probably tons of you watching this video that haven't been able to purchase your Series X or Series S. Just keep in mind that January, February, and March, Microsoft expects the demand to continue throughout the quarter, so it might be hard to get the system, but sometime after March, April, May, and June, the supply should start equal out demand, and you should have an easier time trying to find the console. The one thing I want people to take away from this video is that Xbox is in a much healthier place than ever before in its history, and that Game Pass is going to continue to grow and grow and grow, especially when Bethesda games are added to it and all the new titles from Xbox Game Studios start hitting that service. It's a great time to be an Xbox fan. Anyways, guys, I hope you really enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure you let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that notification bell if you always want to be notified whenever I drop a new video like this. Make sure you share this video out on social media and tell a friend about the channel. And if you want to take the support for the channel even further, you can always hit the join button where you will get access to channel badges and emotes for the Xbox 2 podcast we do every single Friday with Jez Corden from Windows Central. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.